Hyunwoo Kim pressed his face against the thick glass window and watched the stars slowly turn as the space station rotated. 6 months had passed since he left Earth, but he still felt amazed every morning when he saw the endless darkness filled with tiny lights. The Galactic Educational Consortium facility was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen back in Seoul. It looked like a giant wheel spinning in space around the planet Kepler 442b. Still staring at space again? Minji Park sat down next to him in the dining hall. She carried a tray with what looked like normal Earth food, but Hyunwoo knew it was all made from alien ingredients. The food makers on the station could copy any taste from any world. "I cannot help it," Hyunwoo said in English. All students had to speak English here because it was chosen as the common language for all 12 species. "It is so different from home." Minji nodded and bit into her fake Korean rice. "My mother sent another message yesterday. She asked if I am making friends with aliens yet." She made a face. "I told her about the Threnody in our math class who clicks all the time." She was not happy. Hyunwoo smiled a little. The Threnody were insect-like beings who talked by making clicking sounds with their mouth parts. At first it was scary, but now he found it almost musical. "At least the Threnody are nice. What about the Velkari?" Both humans became quiet. The Velkari were the most feared species on the station. They looked like huge lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had sharp claws, long tails, and teeth that could bite through metal. Worst of all, they believed that fear made students learn better. Their teachers were known for being very hard on everyone. "I heard we have Professor Keth for biology class today," Minji said quietly. "Taimin told me that last week Professor Keth made the Gornali students fight each other to learn about competition." Hyunwoo felt his stomach turn. The Gornali were peaceful blue beings who hated violence. Making them fight was like making Earth rabbits attack each other. "Why do the Velkari think fear helps learning?" "Because that is how their world works," said a new voice. Jinho Nam sat down across from them. He was older than Hyunwoo and Minji, already 17, and he had been on the station for a whole year. "On the Velkari homeworld, only the strongest survive. They think all other species should learn the same way. But humans do not learn like that," Minji said. "We learn better when we feel safe and happy." Jinho shrugged. "Try telling that to Professor Keth. The Velkari run most of the science classes here because they are very smart about biology and chemistry. We have to follow their rules if we want to pass." More human students joined their table. So Young Choi was carrying 3 books under her arm as always. She was the smartest human in their year and spoke English better than most Earth teachers. Heejin Yu came next, followed by Woojin Seo. They were all part of the human group that tried to help each other survive the difficult classes. "Did everyone study the reading about predator and prey relationships?" So Young asked. "Professor Keth said there would be a special demonstration today." "What kind of demonstration?" Hyunwoo asked. So Young looked worried. The assignment did not say, but it mentioned that we would observe fear responses in different species. The dining hall was filled with many different types of beings. At one table, 3 Gornali students shared glowing blue food while their skin changed colors to show their feelings. Near the windows, a group of Threnody clicked loudly as they ate something that looked like tree bark. The Velkari students sat at the far corner, eating raw meat and watching other species with their cold yellow eyes. "I do not like the sound of that," Minji said. "Fear responses usually mean something scary will happen." "Maybe it is just videos or computer programs," Hae-jin said hopefully. "They would not bring real dangerous animals to the station, right?" Jinho did not look sure. Last month the Velkari brought live Zorkin worms to show how they attack their prey. The worms are only as big as fingers, but they move so fast that half the class screamed. Hyunwoo remembered that day. Even though the worms were in a strong glass box, watching them hunt fake prey was terrifying. Their mouths opened to show rows of tiny sharp teeth, and they moved like lightning when they smelled food. "We should go to class," So Young said, looking at her watch. "Professor Keth does not like students who come late." The biology classroom was on level 7 of the station. As they walked through the corridors, they passed many different alien students going to their own classes. The station was like a small city in space, with thousands of beings from all over the galaxy. When they reached the classroom, Hyunwoo noticed something strange. Several Velkari assistants were in the room, setting up equipment. This was unusual because Professor Keth normally taught alone. The assistants were moving a large metal box into the center of the room. The box was as tall as a human and covered with blinking lights. What is that? Minji whispered. It looks like a containment unit, So Young said quietly. The kind they use to hold living things. Professor Keth entered the room and all the students became silent. He was bigger than most Velkari, with dark green scales and bright yellow eyes that seemed to see everything. His claws clicked on the floor as he walked to the front of the class. Students, Professor Keth said in his deep, rough voice, today you will learn about survival through direct observation. Fear is the greatest teacher in the universe. It shows the true nature of all living things. He gestured toward the metal box with one clawed hand. Inside this containment unit is a living creature from the Andromeda sector. You will watch as we demonstrate proper predator and prey relationships. Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster. The other human students looked nervous too. Around the room, the alien students seemed excited. The Threnodi were clicking rapidly, which meant they were happy. The Gornali students had turned dark blue, showing they were interested. Your job is to observe and record how the creature responds to different types of fear stimuli. Professor Keith continued. This will teach you how evolution shapes behavior through survival pressure. The metal box hummed with energy. Whatever was inside was alive and waiting. Hyunwoo wondered what kind of creature the Velkari had brought. He hoped it would not be too frightening to watch. Professor Keth moved to his control desk and pressed several buttons. The lights in the classroom became dim, making the blinking lights on the metal box shine brighter. All the students leaned forward in their seats to see better. Before we begin, Professor Keth said, you must understand that fear is not weakness. Fear is wisdom. Every creature that survives learns to fear the right things at the right time. Hyunwoo watched the containment unit carefully. He could hear a soft humming sound coming from the energy barriers that kept whatever was inside locked up. Next to him, Minji had her tablet ready to take notes, but her hands were shaking a little. The creature you are about to see comes from a world where it is prey to many predators. Professor Keth continued. It has evolved perfect fear responses that have kept its species alive for millions of years. Today you will see how these responses work. The Velkari assistant stepped back from the metal box. Professor Keith pressed another button and the front wall of the container began to slide down slowly. A strange smell filled the room like flowers mixed with rain. Remember, Professor Keth said, you are here to observe and learn. Do not interfere with the demonstration in any way. The front wall of the container finished opening. For a moment, nothing happened. Then very slowly, a small creature stepped out into the classroom. Hyunwoo felt his breath catch in his throat. The creature was not scary at all. It was about the size of a house cat, with soft blue fur that seemed to glow slightly under the lights. It had long ears like a rabbit, but also small wings on its back like a bird. Its eyes were large and dark, and they looked around the room with obvious intelligence. This is a Pithani, Professor Keth explained. They are found on several worlds in the Andromeda sector. As you can see, they appear harmless and even attractive. This is their first survival trick. Predators often ignore prey that looks too small or cute to be worth hunting. The Pithani moved carefully around the open space in the center of the classroom. It walked on 4 legs, but Hyunwoo could see that it could probably stand on 2 legs if it wanted to. Its small wings fluttered nervously as it looked at all the different alien students watching it. But do not be fooled by its appearance, Professor Keth said. The Pithani has other abilities that make it very interesting to study. The creature stopped moving and seemed to be listening to something. Then it turned its head directly toward the human students. Its large dark eyes met Hyunwoo's eyes and something strange happened. Hyunwoo heard a voice inside his mind. It was soft and scared, like a child crying. Please help me, the voice said. I do not want to be here. I want to go home. Hyunwoo blinked hard and shook his head. Had he really heard that, or was he imagining things? He looked at Minji, but she seemed to be taking notes normally. None of the other students looked like they had heard anything unusual. The Pithani is also an empath, Professor Keth continued. It can sense the emotions of other creatures around it. This helps it know when predators are nearby and what their intentions are. The voice in Hyunwoo's mind came again. Stronger this time. You can hear me, can't you? The one with kind eyes. Please, I'm so frightened. Why are they doing this to me? Hyunwoo's heart started beating faster. The creature was talking to him somehow, directly into his thoughts. But why could he hear it when the other students could not? Now we will begin the demonstration, Professor Keth announced. He pressed several buttons on his control panel. First, we will show how the Pithani responds to the presence of natural, Predators. A large screen came down from the ceiling behind Professor Keth. The screen showed a holographic image of a huge creature with teeth like swords and claws like spears. It looked like a wolf, but bigger than an earth elephant and covered in black scales. The moment the hologram appeared, the Pithani in the center of the room made a sound like a bird crying. It dropped low to the ground and began to shake. Its blue fur became darker, almost gray, and its wings folded tight against its body. "Excellent," Professor Keth said with satisfaction. "Notice how the Pithani immediately makes itself smaller and less visible. Its fur changes color to blend with shadows. This is called adaptive camouflage." But Hyunwoo was not paying attention to Professor Keith's explanation. The voice in his mind was screaming now. "No, no, no. Make it stop. I remember them. They killed my family. Please make the picture go away." The fear and pain in the voice was so strong that Hyunwoo felt tears come to his eyes. The Pithani was not just showing fear responses for education. It was truly terrified, remembering real terrible things that had happened to it. "Why can I hear it?" Hyunwoo whispered to himself. Minji heard him and looked worried. "Hyunwoo, are you okay? You look sick." Before Hyunwoo could answer, Professor Keth changed the hologram. Now it showed a different predator, something that looked like a giant spider with metal legs. The Pithani's fear grew even stronger. "Help me," the voice cried in Hyunwoo's mind. "I cannot take much more. My heart is beating too fast." Hyunwoo could feel the creature's panic as if it was his own emotion. His hand started shaking and sweat formed on his face. Around the classroom, the other students were writing notes and watching with interest, but none of them seemed to understand that the Pithani was truly suffering. "This is wrong," Hyunwoo said quietly. "What did you say?" Minji asked. Professor Keth heard him too. The Velkari teacher turned his yellow eyes toward the human students. "Is there a problem, Mr. Kim?" Hyunwoo felt all eyes in the classroom looking at him. The alien students stopped their clicking and color changing to see what was happening, but in his mind the Pithani's voice continued to beg for help. "I said this is wrong," Hyunwoo repeated, louder this time. "This creature is not just showing fear responses. It is really scared. It is suffering." Professor Keth's eyes became narrow and dangerous. "Mr. Kim, you will sit quietly and observe the lesson. Personal feelings have no place in scientific study." But Hyunwoo could not sit quietly anymore. The Pithani was looking directly at him now, and its mental voice was filled with hope mixed with terror. "You understand? You can save me! Please don't let them hurt me anymore." Hyunwoo stood up from his seat so fast that his chair fell backward with a loud crash. Every student in the classroom turned to stare at him. The Threnody stopped clicking. The Gornali turned bright orange with surprise, and even the Velkari students lifted their heads to see what was happening. "Hyunwoo, what are you doing?" Minji whispered urgently, but Hyunwoo was not listening to his friend anymore. The voice of the Pithani filled his thoughts completely now. He could feel its terror as if it was his own fear. He could sense its memories of being taken from its family, of being put in the metal box, of being brought here to be scared for the entertainment of alien students. "This is not education," Hyunwoo said in a loud, clear voice. "This is torture." The word torture made the classroom completely silent. Professor Keth's yellow eyes became bright with anger. His claws extended from his fingers, scratching against the metal of his control desk. "Mr. Kim," Professor Keth said in a dangerous voice, "you will return to your seat immediately. You are disrupting an important scientific demonstration." "Scientific?" Hyunwoo felt anger growing in his chest. "You are terrifying an innocent creature for no good reason. How is that scientific?" The Pithani in the center of the room had stopped shaking. Its large dark eyes were fixed on Hyunwoo, and its mental voice was filled with hope. "Yes, tell them. Make them understand that I am not just an animal for their experiments." For the first time, Hyunwoo realized something amazing. He was not just hearing the Pithani's thoughts. He was also sending his own thoughts back to it. Somehow his mind and the creature's mind were connected. "Do not be afraid," he thought toward the Pithani. "I will not let them hurt you." The Pithani's blue fur became brighter, almost glowing. "You can speak to me. How is this possible? Are you like us?" "I do not know," Hyunwoo thought back. "But I can feel your fear, and I cannot watch this anymore." Professor Keth pressed another button on his control panel. The hologram changed again, this time showing a creature that looked like a giant snake with wings. The image moved closer to where the Pithani was standing. The small creature cried out in terror and fell to the ground. Its whole body shook so hard that Hyunwoo thought it might be having a heart attack. In his mind, he felt the Pathani's panic like a storm of pure fear. "Stop it," Hyunwoo shouted. He started walking toward the center of the classroom. "You are killing it. Mr. Kim, return to your seat now, or you will be removed from this class permanently." Professor Keth roared, but Hyunwoo kept walking. As he got closer to the Pathani, something wonderful happened. The creature's fear began to lessen. Its shaking became smaller. The connection between their minds grew stronger and clearer. "How are you doing this?" the Pathani asked in amazement. "Your thoughts feel warm and safe. The terror is going away." Hyunwoo knelt down near the creature, but he was careful not to touch it. He did not want to scare it more. Instead, he tried to send calming thoughts through their mental connection. "Humans do not learn through fear," he said to Professor Keith, but his eyes stayed on the Pathani. "We learn through understanding and kindness. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." "Protect?" Professor Keth laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "You are students here, not protectors. You learn what we teach you, how we teach you." "No," said another voice. Minji had stood up from her seat. Her face was pale, but her voice was strong. "Hyunwoo is right. This is wrong." So Young Choi stood up next. "I agree. This creature is intelligent. Look at its eyes. It understands what is happening to it." Jinho Nam was the next to stand. "On Earth we have laws against being cruel to animals. This feels like cruelty to me." One by one, all the human students in the class stood up. Hee Jin Yu and Woo Jin Seo joined their friends. Soon every human in the room was standing, facing Professor Keth together. The Pathani looked around at all the standing humans with wonder. "They are all with you? Your whole species stands together?" "When we see something wrong, yes," Hyunwoo thought back. "Humans protect each other, and we protect those who need help." Professor Keth's anger was growing dangerous now. His claws scraped deep marks in his metal desk. "This is rebellion. You students will all be reported to the facility administrators." "Report us then," Minji said bravely. "But we will not sit and watch you torture an innocent being." The alien students in the class looked confused. The Threnody clicked rapidly to each other in their own language. The Gornali had turned a color that Hyunwoo had never seen before, something between purple and silver. Even the Velkari students seemed surprised by what was happening. "You do not understand," Professor Keth said, but now his voice sounded less sure than before. "This is how learning works. Fear teaches survival. Weakness leads to death. Maybe on your world," Hyunwoo said. He was still kneeling near the Pathani, sending calm thoughts to keep it safe from panic. "But humans learn to survive by working together, by taking care of each other, by being kind even when kindness seems dangerous." Through their mental connection, the Pythony shared something new with Hyunwoo. It was not fear this time, but a memory. He saw the creature's home world, a place of beautiful blue forests and crystal rivers. He saw other Pathani living in harmony, sharing thoughts and feelings with each other, building amazing cities without harming any living thing. "Your people," Hyunwoo thought to the Pathani, "they are not primitive, are they?" The creature's mental voice carried a sound like quiet laughter. "No, young human. We are not primitive at all. But that is a secret that your teachers do not know." Professor Keth pressed a button on his communication device. "Security to Classroom 7. We have disobedient students who need to be removed." But Hyunwoo was no longer worried about security or punishment. He had learned something amazing from the Pathani's memories, something that would change everything. The classroom door opened with a loud hiss and 3 security guards entered. They were from different species. One was a massive Gorvani with gray skin like stone. Another was a tall Velkari with silver scales. And the third was something Hyunwoo had never seen before, with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. "Remove the disruptive human students," Professor Keth ordered, pointing at Hyunwoo and his friends. But as the security guards moved toward them, something unexpected happened. The other human students did not run or hide. Instead, they moved closer together, forming a protective circle around Hyunwoo and the Pathani. "You will have to remove all of us," Minji said firmly. The Gorvani security guards stopped walking. These massive beings were known for their strength, but they were also known for being fair. "What is the problem here?" he asked in his deep, rumbling voice. "The human students are refusing to participate in a standard educational demonstration," Professor Keith explained. "They are claiming that our methods are cruel." The security guard looked at the Pathani, which was still sitting near Hyunwoo. The creature had stopped shaking, and its fur was glowing softly blue again. The creature does not appear to be in danger, the Gorvani said slowly. That is not the point. Professor Keth's voice was becoming very angry. Students must follow the curriculum. They cannot decide what they will and will not learn. Through his mental connection with the Pathani, Hyunwoo felt something changing. The creature was no longer afraid. Instead, it seemed to be thinking very hard about something important. Tell me, the Pathani said in his mind. What do you know about my people? Only what Professor Keith told us, Hyunwoo thought back. That you are prey animals from the Andromeda sector. The Pathani's mental voice carried amusement. And what if I told you that was not true? What if I told you that my people have been watching this school for a very long time? Before Hyunwoo could ask what that meant, the Velkari security guard spoke up. Perhaps we should contact the facility administrators before taking any action, he suggested. This situation seems more complex than a simple discipline problem. No. Professor Keith slammed his clawed hand on his desk. I am the teacher here. These students will obey or they will be removed. But the human students did not move. They stood together in their protective circle, and Hyunwoo could see that they were all scared but determined. So young Choi had tears in her eyes, but her voice was steady when she spoke. We cannot learn anything by watching someone suffer, she said. Our teachers on Earth taught us that knowledge gained through cruelty is not real knowledge at all. Your Earth teachers were weak, Professor Keth snarled. This is why humans are considered a minor species in the galaxy. You are too soft to survive among the strong races. Those words made Hyunwoo angry, but before he could respond, the Pathani spoke in his mind again. Ask him this question for me. Ask him if he knows what happened to the last 3 species that tried to use my people as test subjects. Hyunwoo did not understand what the creature meant, but he trusted it now. Professor Keth, he said aloud, what happened to the species that used the Pathani for experiments before? The question seemed to surprise the Velkari teacher. His yellow eyes became narrow and suspicious. What do you mean? Why do you ask that? Just answer the question, Minji said, stepping closer to Hyunwoo. What happened to them? Professor Keth looked uncomfortable for the first time since the class had started. That information is not relevant to today's lesson. The Gorvani security guard was very interested now. His people valued truth above everything else. I would like to hear the answer to that question as well, he said in his deep voice. The information is classified, Professor Keth said quickly. But the Pathani was sharing more memories with Hyunwoo now. He saw images of great wars in space, of entire fleets of ships disappearing, of proud alien civilizations that had fallen in a matter of days, and in every memory there were Pathani watching from the shadows. You do not know, do you? Hyunwoo said with growing understanding. You do not know what the Pathani really are. The small blue creature stood up on its back legs now. Hyunwoo was amazed to see that it was much taller than he had thought, almost as tall as a human child. Its wings spread wide, and they were not small bird wings after all. They were large and strong, with patterns that seemed to shift and change as he watched. What I really am, the Pathani said, and now its voice was not just in Hyunwoo's mind. Everyone in the room could hear it speaking in perfect English. It is very different from what you believe. Professor Keth stepped backward in shock. The security guards raised their weapons. The alien students made various sounds of surprise and fear, but the human students did not move away from the Pathani. If anything, they moved closer to it, showing that they were not afraid. My name is Nim, the Pathani continued, and I am not a prisoner here. I came to this place by my own choice to conduct a test. A test? The Gorvani security guard asked. Yes, Nim said, looking directly at Hyunwoo and his friends. My people needed to know if there were any species in this galaxy capable of true compassion. We needed to find beings who would choose kindness over obedience, who would protect the helpless even when it cost them something. Nim's fur began to glow brighter, and the patterns on its wings started to move faster. 372 species have attended classes at this facility over the past 50 years. Every one of them has watched creatures like me being used for fear experiments. Every one of them has taken notes and learned their lessons and gone home without objection. The creature looked around the classroom at all the alien students. Until today. Today, one species chose differently. Professor Keith was backing toward the door now, his yellow eyes wide with something that looked like terror. This is impossible. The Pathani are listed as a minor species. They have no technology, no military power. Nim laughed, and the sound was like music made of starlight. That is what we wanted you to think. We have been watching you all for a very long time, deciding which species deserve our friendship, and which species are too dangerous to be allowed to continue growing stronger. Through their mental connection, Nim shared one final memory with Hyunwoo. He saw vast ships hidden among the stars, weapons that could destroy planets, and millions of Pathani warriors ready to protect their galaxy from those who chose cruelty over kindness. But he also saw something else. Pathani children playing in crystal gardens, artists creating beauty that brought tears to the eyes, and teachers sharing wisdom that could heal the hearts of entire worlds. We are both more and less than you thought, Nim told the classroom. We have the power to destroy, but we choose to create. We can conquer, but we prefer to make friends. And now we know that humans can be our friends. The silence in the classroom was broken by the sound of running footsteps in the hallway. More security guards were coming, along with what sounded like facility administrators. But Hyunwoo was not worried about them anymore. He was too amazed by what Nim had revealed. Your people, he said to the Pathani. You have been testing all the species here, not testing to hurt them, Nim explained, his mental voice now reaching all the human students. They could all hear him in their thoughts just like Hyunwoo could, testing to find allies. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are species out there that destroy worlds for fun, that eat intelligent beings, that spread across space like a disease. Minji gasped as she felt Nim's thoughts touch her mind. You can talk to all of us now? Humans have a special gift, Nim said. Your minds are naturally open to empathic communication. Most species cannot hear us at all. Others hear us, but they use our voices to control us or hurt us. So young Choi sat down heavily in her chair, as memories that were not her own filled her thoughts. She saw the Pathani homeworld, but also dozens of other worlds where Nim's people lived in secret, watching and protecting the galaxy from shadows. This is incredible, she whispered. Your civilization is enormous. You have colonies in every sector of known space, and some sectors that are not known to others, Nim agreed. We learned long ago that the safest way to survive is to let everyone else think you are weak and harmless. Professor Keth was pressed against the classroom door now, his claws scratching at the metal as he tried to escape, but the door would not open. Jinho realized that Nim must be controlling the room's system somehow. You are afraid, Nim said to Professor Keth. Now you know how I felt when you put me in that box and showed me images of my people being killed. Those were not real images, Professor Keth said quickly. They were just holograms meant to cause fear responses. They were images of real events, Nim corrected him sadly. Images of my family members who were killed by the species you showed me. We keep records of all the cruelties that have been done to us over the centuries. Hee-Jin-Yu felt tears running down her face as Nim's memories of loss and pain flowed through her mind. I am so sorry, she said. I am sorry your people have suffered so much. Do not be sorry, Nim said gently. Be proud. Your species is the first to show us that not all powerful beings choose cruelty. You stood up to protect me even when you thought I was just a helpless animal. The classroom door finally opened, and Facility Administrator Korath entered with 6 more security guards. Korath was a Zelkari, a species known for their wisdom and fairness. His 4 arms were folded across his chest and his large eyes took in the scene carefully. What is happening here? Korath asked in his calm, deep voice. The human students are in rebellion, Professor Keth said quickly. They refuse to participate in standard educational protocols. But Korath was looking at Nim, and his expression was changing from confusion to shock to something that might have been fear. That is not a standard test subject, he said slowly. That is a Pathani adult in full manifestation. Full manifestation? Hyunwoo asked. Korath stepped backward respectfully. Young human, you are looking at one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Pathani only show their true forms when they are making official contact with another species. Nim's wings spread wider, and now Hyunwoo could see that the patterns on them were not just pretty designs. They were star charts, showing the locations of thousands of worlds. Administrator Korath speaks truly, Nim said, his voice now filling the room like music. I came here not as a test subject, but as an ambassador. An ambassador? Korath said, and his voice was filled with awe. The Pathani have not sent ambassadors to other species for over 300 years. Because for 300 years we have found no species worth talking to, Nim explained. Every intelligent race we have studied has shown us the same thing. When they have power over others, they choose to cause pain. They see kindness as weakness and cruelty as strength. Professor Keith had collapsed into a chair, his yellow eyes staring at Nim in disbelief. But your people are in our databases as a primitive species. You have no technology, no space travel capabilities, no military forces. Nim laughed again, and this time the sound made the air shimmer with colors. We have been traveling between stars since before your people learned to make fire. Our technology is so advanced that you cannot even recognize it as technology. As for military forces, suddenly every screen in the classroom came alive with images. They showed the space around the educational facility, where dozens of ships had appeared as if from nowhere. The ships were beautiful, looking more like living creatures than machines with wings like Nim's and the same soft blue glow. We have been watching this facility for 57 years, Nim said. Every cruel experiment, every act of violence, every time a strong species hurt a weak one, we have been deciding whether the races here deserve to continue existing. Administrator Korath was staring at the screens with his mouth open. Those are Pathani warships. But they were not there an hour ago. Our sensors show nothing. Your sensors cannot detect what they are not designed to see, Nim said simply. But do not worry. We did not come here to start a war. We came here to end our long isolation and find friends among the stars. Nim turned back to Hyunwoo and the other human students, who were still standing in their protective circle. And today we found them. Woojin Seo, who had been quiet through most of the class, finally spoke up. What happens now? He asked. Now, Nim said, everything changes. For your species and for mine, and for every other species in the galaxy. Through the mental connection that now linked all the human students to Nim, Hyunwoo felt a vast sense of possibility opening up before them. The future was no longer just about passing classes and going home to Earth. It was about joining something much bigger and more wonderful than he had ever imagined. 3 hours later, Hyunwoo sat in the facility's main conference room, surrounded by the most important beings from 12 different species. The room was huge, with a ceiling that showed the stars outside, and seats that could adjust to fit any type of alien body. But despite all the powerful administrators and military leaders present, the most important voice belonged to Nim. The Pathani had grown even larger since revealing his true nature. He now stood as tall as an adult human, with wings that glowed like captured starlight. More importantly, 3 other Pathani had joined him, arriving through walls as if the metal was not there at all. Let me understand this correctly, said Grand Administrator Vex, the highest-ranking official at the facility. She was a Morphari, a species that looked like living liquid metal. Your people have been secretly watching every species in the galaxy for centuries. Not secretly, corrected Nim's companion, who had introduced herself as Elder Saya. We simply did not announce ourselves. There is a difference. You allowed us to think you were primitive, protested General Corzon, a Velkari military leader who had arrived on an emergency transport. You let us treat you as test subjects and experimental animals. We let you show us who you really are, Elder Saya replied calmly. When a species thinks they have power over others, their true nature appears. Most species, when they believe they are strong and we are weak, choose to cause pain. Hyunwoo looked around the conference table at all the alien leaders. Many of them looked uncomfortable, and he thought he understood why. They were realizing that their civilizations had been judged and found lacking. But humans were different, Nim said, looking directly at Hyunwoo and his fellow students, who had been invited to attend this historic meeting. When humans thought they had power over me, they chose to protect me instead of hurt me. Administrator Korath leaned forward in his chair. What exactly does this mean for our relationships going forward? It means everything changes, said the third Pathani, who was called Master Zen. For 300 years, we have watched species grow stronger and spread across the galaxy, but we have not helped them or hindered them. We simply watched and waited. Waited for what? Asked Captain Mora, a human military officer who had been called in to represent Earth's interests. Waited for a species that chooses compassion over conquest, Master Zen explained. A species that protects the weak instead of exploiting them. A species worthy of joining our alliance. Alliance? Several voices asked at once. Elder Saya gestured, and the stars on the ceiling changed to show a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Hundreds of star systems glowed with blue light. The Pathani Alliance includes 47 species across the galaxy. All of them have passed our test of compassion. All of them have chosen kindness over cruelty when given the choice. Hyunwoo felt his breath catch. 47 species? But we only know about the 12 species here at the facility. You only know about the species we allowed you to know about, Neem said with amusement in his mental voice. The galaxy is much larger and more wonderful than your teachers told you. Professor Keth, who had been sitting silently at the far end of the table, finally spoke up. What about species like mine? The Velkari have built our civilization on strength and competition. Does that mean we are excluded from your alliance? Not excluded, Elder Saya said gently. But not invited either until you learn to value compassion as much as strength. And how are we supposed to learn that? General Corzon demanded. From the humans, Master Zen said simply. If you want to join the greater galactic community, you will need teachers. And humans, it seems, are natural teachers of empathy and kindness. Minji looked shocked. You want us to teach other species how to be compassionate? You already did, Nim pointed out. Today in the classroom, you taught everyone present that protecting others is more important than following orders. You showed that courage comes from caring about others, not from being strong enough to hurt them. Captain Mora was studying the star map with intense interest. This alliance of yours, what exactly do you do together? We share knowledge, Elder Saya explained. We help each other solve problems that single species cannot solve alone. We explore distant galaxies together. We protect the universe from species that would destroy it for their own benefit. And we create beautiful things, added Master Zen. Art and music and stories that make life worth living. Not everything in the universe needs to be about survival and competition. So young Choi raised her hand as if she was still in class. What would happen to humanity if we joined your alliance? Your people would never be alone again, Nim said. You would have friends among the stars, teachers who could help you learn about the universe, and students who could learn from your natural gift for compassion. But joining the alliance is not just about benefits, Elder Saya warned. It also means responsibility. Alliance members must help protect other species even when it is dangerous. They must share their resources with those who need help. They must choose what is right over what is easy. Hyunwoo thought about what had happened in the classroom earlier. Standing up to Professor Keith had been scary, but it had been the right thing to do. That sounds like something humans can do, he said. We believe so too, Nim agreed. But the choice belongs to your entire species, not just to you students. Captain Mora was quiet for a long moment, studying the faces of the young humans around the table. Finally, she spoke. These students showed incredible courage today. They risked their education, their safety, and their futures to protect a being they thought was helpless. If that represents the best of humanity, then I think we are ready for this responsibility. There is one more thing you should know, Master Zen said seriously. Joining the Alliance means that Earth will become visible to all the other species in the galaxy. Some of them are not kind. Some of them will see humans as a threat because of your gift for empathy and your ability to unite other species. You mean we will have enemies? Jinho asked nervously. You already have enemies, Elder Saya said. Species that spread across the galaxy like a plague, consuming everything they touch. They have been looking for Earth for decades. The only reason they have not found you is that we have been hiding your world with our technology. Wujin looked worried. So if we do not join the Alliance, we stay hidden but alone. If we do join, we have friends but also enemies who want to destroy us. That is correct, Nim said. But there is something else to consider. The hostile species are growing stronger every year. Eventually, they will find Earth whether you join the Alliance or not. The question is, when they find you, do you want to face them alone or do you want to have 47 allied species standing beside you? The room fell silent as everyone thought about this choice. Hyunwoo looked at his fellow human students and saw the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his own heart. We are stronger together, Minji said quietly. That is what we showed today in the classroom. Humans do not abandon others when things become dangerous, and other species can learn from that example. So Young added, maybe even the Velkari and the others who think cruelty is strength. Professor Keth looked up at this. You would try to teach us? Even after what I did to Nim? Especially because of what you did, Hyunwoo said. Today you learned something new. You learned that there are different kinds of strength. Maybe tomorrow you can teach that lesson to other Valkyrie. Elder Saya smiled, and the expression transformed her alien features into something beautiful and kind. This is exactly why we believe humans are ready to join the Alliance. You do not just choose compassion for yourselves. You believe others can choose it too. Captain Mora stood up from her chair. I will need to contact Earth's government and present this offer to our leaders. But I can tell you right now that these students have already shown me everything I need to know about humanity's answer. And what is that? Master Zen asked. Humans do not abandon their friends, Captain Mora said firmly. If there are species in this galaxy who need protection, who need teachers, who need allies, then humanity will not hide on Earth and pretend the problems are not our responsibility. Nim's wings glowed brighter with happiness. Through the mental connection he shared with the human students, they could all feel his joy and relief. Then welcome to the Pithani Alliance, friends from Earth. Welcome to the greater galaxy. As the meeting continued with discussions of treaties and technology sharing, Hyunwoo looked out at the stars through the conference room's windows. Somewhere out there were 47 species who had chosen kindness over cruelty. Somewhere out there were enemies who would test humanity's courage in the years to come. But also out there were friends they had not met yet. Students who could learn from human compassion, and teachers who could help humanity grow into something greater than they had ever imagined. The classroom demonstration had started with one small creature asking for help. It had ended with humanity taking its first step toward becoming protectors of the galaxy. And it had all begun with a simple choice. When faced with cruelty, humans chose kindness instead. In his mind, Nim's voice whispered a final thought. Your species gives us hope that the universe can be a place of wonder instead of fear. This is why the galaxy needs humans.